I'm going to complete a website audit for a member of my Debug Your Business program. Now, we'll talk more about Debug Your Business and how to get your own website audit at the end, but I wanted to jump right in. Before we do, however, I want to say that everything I'm about to share in this website audit is up to the business owner to integrate or not. Nobody knows your business like you do, so whenever you get advice from me or somebody else, take it with a grain of salt and only incorporate what makes sense to you. So I do send these website audits to the website owner about a week before I make them public. So if you do pop over on the website, it may look a little different depending on which changes they implemented. Let's dive in. This month's website audit is for Marimo, a dance studio in Franconia, New Hampshire. And I have to say, this was a super fun one, which is perfect because that's totally on brand. Marimo, as you can see, is a fun dance studio. And first impressions of this website were really good. Angie, the owner, has a background in graphic design, so of course she nailed the branding. I love how the logo, it feels like it moves, which the logo's for a dance studio, so that's perfect. So she has this beautiful movement-based logo with an anchor font that just adds that nice balance. And her colors also energetic and fun, joyful. So I have no suggestions on the branding. Angie totally has it. From a website design perspective, what I noticed on this website is there is a lot of information, which is okay. There needs to be a lot of information. Confused people don't buy. So if somebody doesn't understand how your business works, how they sign up, what's included, then they're less likely to sign up. And that's definitely not the case here. But that being said, there are some ways that we can organize this information better to make it easier for people to find, to read, and to not feel as overwhelmed. So we are going to start with the navigation. We have a lot going on here. And as a rule of thumb with navigation, I say the sweet spot is to have no more than 5 items in your navigation. That makes it easy for people to scan and get to what they need. So I did go through. You can see there are some sub-navigation items, which is great. And we will visit these pages. So what I would recommend doing, I'm going to try to hold this up so you can see it. There we go. So I would shrink the navigation down to these 6. Now, the reason why I'm comfortable with 6 is because I would recommend making classes a button. So this website's on Squarespace, and I know that it is a feature that you can have a button appear as the very last link. So if Angie adds an orange button for classes, I like that because it calls classes out, and that's where you really want people to go, especially return visitors. They know all of the background info, so they just want to sign up for their class. So I would also recommend changing the names of some of these pages. When you have something like Our Stories and contact us, it's just adding extra words that you don't need, and you want people to be able to find what they're looking for quickly. So I would simplify and just change this to contact and change this to about. And then as you can see, I also reorganized some of the sub navigation. So I'll let you take a peek at that. And we'll dive into this more thoroughly as we go on each of these pages. But just to start, I think that would clean it up so the first thing you see on the website is not just this wall of information. And also, as we go through the pages, I do have some ideas of how to combine some pages, but we'll get into that more later. Right now, we're just going to take it one page at a time. So as I said, first impression is fantastic. If Angie ever wanted to redesign in the future, the background of this could be a video montage of her teaching and her students dancing. I think that would add a really connective and fun element. So people coming to this website, they can see Angie and get a feel for her, and then see her smiling students and also see her space. So I think that would really pull people in. But for now, I think this is just a beautiful, clean header, and I appreciate that. Next, I really like how Angie designed this section. It gives you the information that you need. I like the different headers because it makes it easy to scan. One thing I would do is add some breathing room at the top and at the bottom. So on Squarespace, you can just increase the spacing, or you can increase the blocks size. So I would just add some more there. Now, if Angie wanted to shrink, I'll just quickly scan through this whole homepage. If Angie wanted to shrink the size of this homepage, because it is a little long, since this is the dance camp is an announcement, on Squarespace you can have an announcement bar that appears at the top. So she could have an orange announcement bar and it could say dance camp is open, and then it could be click here. But I understand if you really want to get people to sign up, add it to the homepage, it's totally valid. Just add a bit of breathing room. And then maybe make this button a little wider so it takes up less vertical space. And then this is definitely something that I would put in the announcement bar, because you want this to appear on every single page of the website. So if somebody automatically knows where they're heading, they might not go on the homepage. They might bypass it completely. So if you have this as an announcement bar, it's going to appear on every single page. So I think that would be super helpful. I love this little background. It adds that movement, and anytime you have animations or movement on a website, it just keeps people engaged. So that's great. There is a lot of, so from here down, everything is about classes, which is fantastic. And I love how it's divided into the different class types, which link to the pages underneath here. And then you have information about the studio. And then you have your schedule here. Now, I would shrink this a bit. I would definitely include this schedule on the homepage because that's vital information. That's her entire business, is the schedule. And then I would keep something like this so people can learn more about classes. So what I would have is the schedule and then a button that says sign up here, and then class information. I would include those different links to the different class types. I would, unless this is part of the actual schedule, which I don't think it is, I would remove this because this information is on other pages that people can easily navigate to. I would also remove this because this is under the FAQ section, also under the class section. So in this sense, you don't need to be repetitive on the homepage. You just want to summarize and link to where people can find more information. So that's how I would shrink that. I would also move this a little closer to the top. So I would move that section above our classes. So when you think of your homepage, like I said, you want it to be a summary, and you also want it to guide your customers. So we call it the customer journey. So typically on your website, you have your header, which is, this is who we are. And then you might have like a call to action. So we have this stuff here. You might have an e-newsletter subscribe bar. And then you typically have that about little summary. So what we saw down here, I think I zoomed past it because I got excited. Yep. What we see down here and hours and location, I would scoot that up here because that's also questions that people will have. And then you can link to learn more, click here, and it would bring you to the about page. And then I would have classes. So that's just the order of operations I would do on the homepage. Now, if you hear a rushing in the background, I'm recording this on a super rainy day. It's like a monsoon going on outside. So that roaring and rumbling is the rain. Moving on, we do have the about section here. Again, I would change our stories to about because it makes it easier for people to understand what it is. Now we have 2 pages underneath. We have our stories, which is the general story of Marimo, which I loved. Angie wrote this so well. So many people have a hard time writing their about section, and I think Angie nailed it. So I'll let you read that on your own, but there is a beautiful section towards the end where Angie writes that let me see. Yes, here. where she writes that she doesn't want her studio to be about recitals and competing. She wants it to be all about fun. I would include that on the homepage because that just it's your blue ocean. If you haven't read that book, Blue Ocean Strategy, I highly recommend it. But this is Angie's specialty. This is her niche. Every other dance studio in the area is so focused on recitals and competing, and Angie's not. And I think a lot of people would be drawn to that. So I would capitalize on that, put that right on the homepage, some kind of line that is like maybe no recitals, no competitions, no expectations. Angie's really great at graphic design. I'm sure she can come up with a clever way to do that, but I would definitely scoot that on the homepage. From a website design perspective, on this page, I would add more breathing room on the edges. I think you can shrink the photo a little bit just to widen up the text. And that would also keep your text from dragging down the website. It would just shrink the height of this section. And then love this. It's a great little divider. Love this as well. So I would add, in this section, I would add some buttons here. That would be class schedule, FAQs, maybe contact, typically 3 buttons. That there is a thing, odd numbers are more visually appealing than even numbers, and the number 3 for some reason is just, it's a very lovely grouping. So I would have 3 buttons here. So that's just the general story of Marimo, the studio. And then Team Fun is, first, love this. This incorporates even more of the Marimo brand colors. I think that's super fun. And then fun, see? So then on this page, it's about the team members. So we have the owner, Angie, and then we have Chelsea and Chrissy and Fiona. Love all of these pictures. So they did an amazing job with their staff shots as well as these sections. I think they are just so playful and just really allows you to get to know your instructors better. Now, this page is very long, so there's also a lot of text, and you'll hear me say throughout this website audit that with the text, we want to keep it but present it in a way that's easier to process. So I would turn these FAQs, not FAQs, but like Q&A, I would turn this into, it's called an accordion block on Squarespace. So you would see like a rectangle and it would have the question, then you'd see an arrow and you click on the arrow and the answer would appear. So I would do that for this. It will definitely shrink up this section. That's called an accordion block in Squarespace. And then I would just keep your main paragraph with the pictures. And if possible, if that accordion block shrinks it enough, I would have your staff side by side. So ideally you'd have 3 across, but since Angie has 4 staff members, I would do 2 and 2, so 2 and then 2. So you would have your picture and then your little bio category, and then you would have the accordion block Q&A. So you would have the 2 side by side, and that will really shrink up the page. Another idea I had, this is totally up to Angie, is because there's not a lot on the Our Stories page, I would combine the 2. But if that ends up making the page too long, it might be something that you have to kind of go back and forth, trial error, especially if you add what I recommended added on the Our Stories page. You can, pulling up our little navigation, I would change it to Marimo. So your main tab is about, and then so about Marimo, and then about team. And then also I would have, this is the Franconia Coffee House menu. This is super cool. I didn't know this was a thing, and I live in this area. So we're just going to scoot to that page now. The Franconia Coffee House is, I think, on the same block as Marimo in Franconia, and Marimo collaborated with them on a special menu. Now, how cool is that? So instead of putting it under fun extras, I would scoot it under about, and then I would also have a link to that in the footer of the website and maybe also on the homepage too. And then I would include a button where people can view this actual menu and see everything on the menu. So that's what I would do there. And then we're actually going to move on to FAQs because I'm going to go in order of how I wrote this. So FAQs, I like how this is designed. It's very easy to navigate. And then if you still have questions, this links to the contact page. Fantastic. There is a lot of information on the rest of the site that I would recommend moving to this FAQs page. So it's that, what that is going to do is make this page a lot longer than it is. So I would recommend keeping the section like this and have your main questions organized like this, and then maybe add accordion blocks for additional questions. So next we are going to start going through events. So under fun extras, we have events. I would make events its own tab. So the different types of events that Marimo does is they have pop-ups. So for Franconia Old Home Day, I believe they had some type of pop-up going on where they had special classes that you could sign up for. And then they also have private parties, which is great. And then they also have their summer camps. So I'm going to pull this up again. I would recommend making events its own tab, and then underneath having special events or pop-ups, you could call it, and then having private parties and then dance camps. So that helps you shrink up that navigation, keep all of the events in one place. So we're going to go to the events page now. And what I would recommend doing, Squarespace has an actual events template. So what that would do is instead of having to add your graphics, you can add your individual events. So for example, you can call the general event Old Home Day. So you could have Old Home Day : Wildflowers 1 dance, and have that be its own entry. And then you can have all the information on that one event. So that would separate out all of your events, and then when the event is over, it automatically disappears from Squarespace. I don't think I'm communicating clearly what I mean by this, but basically you would have an events page, and I'm pointing and you can't see me point. Each of these would have their own event listing on the website. So you can link to these individual events, and then they just disappear once the event ends. And what this also allows you to do is you can add a calendar block on your website wherever you feel it's best, and the calendar block will show these events. So Angie could also do this for her main classes as well. I love these graphics. I think they're essential to have, especially when you're marketing and promoting. And it is just easy to scan. But if people wanted to just see the full calendar view, kind of like a Google Calendar, that's an option. So I would turn this upcoming events into an actual event Squarespace page. But I also understand that you may want to call out individual pop-ups. So if Angie has a lot of pop-ups going on, what she could do is she could have a basic page like this, and then on the back end have the Squarespace events, and then she can just embed the events on here. And Angie, if you have any questions, let me know. Sometimes I am not super clear at communicating. Since we're here, you can see that Marimo operates on a contact form sign-up system, which is totally fine to start with. Angie did a great job organizing this contact form and separating it out so people know what they need to provide for information. So we'll get into that more later. So private parties, love how this page is designed. But there is a lot of information here. So I would turn a lot of this into an accordion block and have it be like an FAQ. So think of what people are going to ask, like, what are the time frames? How much does it cost? How many kids can we have? And then I noticed Angie mentioned something about a waiver, so I would also include a button to that waiver. So have the basic main information up front, and then utilize the different heading options. Squarespace has 4 heading options as well as 4 paragraph options, so it makes the design of text really easy. And then just move everything else into an FAQ, or you can have, Angie did this on some other pages, you can have kind of like some graphics. So like you can have maybe a calendar that says timing and it has all the timing information. And then you can have like a $ and have all the money information. And then like somebody dancing or in a dance move, and you can have the what's included information. So trying to organize it so people can scan it more easily. You need this information, but you can present it in a way that boom, boom, boom. And also again, add some more breathing room on the edge. Just shrink up the width of this page. And then the other page was dance camp. So again, scoot this under a main events tab. This is amazing. So see, this is what I'm talking about with laying out the text. It is easy to scan, and you get the information that you need with the different colors, the different sizes. Love this. And then again, there is a lot of information here, so I would turn this into an accordion block, but this type of stuff, I would scoot to the top because that's the first thing people are going to ask. So yeah, like the when, who, and then price, and then everything else I would turn into accordion blocks. And then again, Angie doing a great job with these contact forms. So now we are going to move on to the merch page, which I would rename to shop just because I think intuitively people would understand that better. So Squarespace is very limited with their products. So if you have an e-commerce store and you need a lot of varieties in a product, honestly, Squarespace is not really the way to go. So as you can see, Angie has all the different shirt colors listed, and then down at the bottom, the shirt colors and styles, at the bottom you can see the designs. So what I would like to see instead is you have a listing for each design and each shirt type, and then colors are options underneath because people are visual. This is the first thing I'm going to want to see. I'm going to want to see the design first. I'm not going to want to see the color first. So in order to do that, I would recommend having a Square store. Square, this is a common misperception, Square is different from Squarespace. Square, it actually doesn't cost any money to have a Square website, but I would not recommend moving your website to Square because Squarespace has way more design capabilities, and as we've mentioned multiple times, you're going to want that accordion block option. But what you can do is you can move all of your products to Square, and you can link to your Square store. So people would go on the Squarespace website, click shop, and be brought to the Square store. On the Square store, just make sure that you have the navigation the same as on the main website so people can kind of switch back and forth. So by doing that, I would have each of the design and each of the shirt options. So you have t-shirts, and then you have the racerback tanks. So I would have each of those in each of the different designs, and then within that I would have your color options. If that's a down the road thing, I would move this to the top. So I would start with designs to choose from and then get into your colors and your styles, and then maybe have a little section at the top that says, here's how it works. So people know at the very top it would be like, okay, so you pick your shirt, then you pick your shirt and design, and then you pick your color, and then click on the item and place your order. So when you click on the item, when you click on order, it opens up an email, which is great. So it goes to Marimo and then merch order, and then I'd like this one, please. But this also limits if somebody wants to order multiple different products. And then also too, if you're going to continue with the system, have this open in a new window, because now I've lost the website. I have to click the back arrow, which is totally feasible, but typically when people click away from a website, they're less likely to go back. So I would just have all of these open in a new window. Moving on to the contact page. It's very simple to the point, which is totally fine. I would just change this to contact, this to contact. The reason why I would make these two the same, like I mentioned earlier, having this as a single word makes it easy to scan, but then having this match this is good for SEO. So you want your page names and your main headers to match, and then you also want the URL to match. So I would change the URL here to contact, and then also this is the page name on the back end. So Squarespace has navigation, title, and page name. So I would make sure that everything matches and verify that on all of your pages. So you want contact to be on the back end page name, on the navigation name, and you want it to be the main first header on that page. And again, same for all of your other pages. So with this page, what I would personally recommend is to remove this because you have the contact form. I noticed when I had my email spelled out on my website, I received a lot of spam. So in order to reduce that, that's why you have a contact form. However, I know there are some people who don't like to fill out contact forms. They want to just copy paste the email address. So if you feel like your audience would prefer this method, then you can consider leaving it there. But personally, I would omit it and just have your contact form. So now we are going to move on to the main part of the website, the entire purpose of Angie's business. We are going to classes. So as you can see, Angie has it divided into kids classes, which is a description of those, adults, again, a description of those, and then we have pricing, and then we have sign up. So going back to this little handy sheet, I would recommend moving classes all the way over here to the end, and you're going to want to make that a button, so an orange button that pops out, and I would recommend reducing it to just these 3 pages. So the reason why is pricing. A lot of this I think can fit under FAQs because this information is repeated elsewhere as well. So you have the pertinent, we'll get there in a moment, but you have the pertinent information like class pricing and how long it lasts on each of the class description pages. So much of this is repeated, but it is important information because there are some details in here that aren't mentioned elsewhere and things are explained more in depth for people who may not totally understand. So I would combine this pricing page with your FAQs page. Love this right here. I think that's fantastic. And then I would also include, when you move this to the FAQs page, a place where people can sign up. So now moving on to the kids page, it does have similar information to the pricing page. Obviously, there's the pricing and there's how long the class lasts and how long the session is. So kind of crossing thoughts here. On the pricing page, it is mentioned that sessions are typically 4 weeks. So some of that information I would include at the top here, just a little bit. There is nothing wrong with repeating yourself. It's actually good to repeat yourself. You want your information in multiple places so it's easy for people to find. So I would just have some of that general information that applies to all classes, like most classes are 4 weeks at the top. And then we have a lot of different class types, which is super cool, but it can feel a little overwhelming. So I would divide these into sections, which they already kind of are in sections. But for example, we have a few different wildflowers classes. So I would make a section, and we have wildflowers here. I would make a section with all of the wildflowers together, and then I would have a line at the top and bottom dividing that section. Then I would have it say wildflowers and then the age range, and then I would pull the main description here and put that at the top. So that reduces the amount that you're repeating yourself here. Like I said earlier, it's good to repeat yourself, but if you're on the same page, you don't really need to repeat yourself multiple times on the same page. So I would scoot up the wildflowers name and main description here, and then underneath your individual wildflowers, you can keep I noticed that each age range is different for each wildflower. But anyway, you kind of get the gist. Just trying to reduce the height of these descriptions. And this I would move up to the top too. You want your main who, what, when, where type information to be at the top here. So divide your wildflowers out, and then you can also have age groups like this is an Angie call, but just different ways of organizing. Class type, you can do class type, you can do age group, and you can do, let me think. Yes, that's what I meant. So there's also this really super cool miscellaneous type options, which that can be a category. So moving on to the adults section, I would recommend the same thing here, dividing it by categories. You can have like yoga type, you can have a category for yoga, or just a movement category, a dance category. You can have a adults and kids classes, because we had mentioned on the kids classes, a kids and adults class, and then we also have somewhere on here, I know there is, here it is, the posies. Also the names are super cute. Posies, wildflowers, love it. Yep, here's the kid and their adult partner choreography. So I would have a section of kids and adult classes, and then you can have just like a dance category and a yoga relaxation category, and same as on the kids page, have a line at the top and at the bottom of each category, have the category name, and if there is a description that you're repeating throughout, have that at the top so you can remove it down here, and then move your pricing up here. And I do like how the sign up is underneath every single class. So when I click sign up, it brings us to the sign up page, which can also be found here. I love this header. bold, fun, grabs your attention. Also how Angie designed it. She's a graphic designer. She knows what she's doing. So here, this is similar to another page that we were on. There's a lot of information. I would recommend scooting it into an accordion, but having the main info towards the top. Though unlike the other page, you're not going to have pricing because pricing is class dependent, but I would keep probably this and maybe even this at the top, and then everything else can go into an accordion. This I would just link to the contact page, the main contact page. And then here Angie has a great contact form with everything divided out, lots of information. Now I would move this, the private party and birthday party, I would move this contact form, this part of the contact form onto private parties. So I would give private parties its own contact form. Then you can have more questions like requested date and time and make that specific to that. So that way, if somebody's booking a private party, they don't have to scroll through all this information. Also, they may not think to go to this page to book a private party. But I think there is a lot of great information on here. So moving forward in the future, if Angie ever wanted to have an online booking platform, I go to a yoga studio that uses a website called Momo Yoga. And what I love about it is there are class passes on there, and there's the option to register for a series. So a lot of Angie's classes are series. Some of them do welcome drop-ins. So on Momo Yoga, you can have both. So for me as a student, for example, I can buy a 10 class pass for drop-ins, and then I can see the schedule online and I can click the button that says sign up. And if the class is already full, then I can't sign up, but it at least claims my space. Or if you sign up for the session, it automatically claims your space. So for a user experience perspective as a student, I love it. It makes it so easy. I don't have to fill out all this information because I've already filled out this information when I created my account. I'm just paying for my sessions and then booking my sessions. And then on the back end, I'm sure it would make it easier for Angie to have the money just coming into one place and to easily see in one spot all of her signups instead of having to chase down each individual email. So that's an idea for the future. And that is it for the website audit of Marimo Dance Studio. We covered a lot of ground with that one, and I really appreciate this website audit in particular because the foundation is there. Angie has great design and she has a lot of information, which is what you need. So it's harder for me to recommend somebody add information. It's easier for me to recommend taking away or reorganizing it. And that was the theme of this whole website. I definitely think if Angie incorporates some more accordion blocks and restructures her website, she can knock it out of the park and it'll make it a better experience for her students as well. If you would like me to audit your website, become a member of my Debug Your Business program. I do one website audit a month. So once you become a member, you would apply, and I would take everybody who applied for a website audit and randomly select one person. And in addition to website audits, the membership also includes something similar. It's called Refine My Canva Design, where you would apply for that and I would randomly choose again. And I would take your Canva design, make a copy of it, and I would redesign it based on design principles as well as making sure it adheres to your brand. So that's super cool. It kind of gives you the graphic design perspective. In addition to, the Debug Your Business membership also includes monthly content ideas, monthly to-dos, including things to think of for upcoming marketing campaigns, when you should file your taxes, that type of thing, as well as a monthly formula. Now, this is the whole basis of the membership. I understand that there are so many things we need to know in business and in marketing, and it can be overwhelming to figure it out. So formulas literally break it down. So for example, I have a formula, how to boost traffic on your website, and it goes through a bunch of different steps on how to incorporate search engine optimization. It includes links to tutorials, links to outside resources, and it just basically tells you how to. So it's a combination of how to and strategy. Check that out at missmegabug.com/membership.